Keir Starmer stands accused of leaving Britain wide open. He scrapped our only deterrent.
Look, the Rwanda scheme was dead and buried before it started. It's never been a deterrent, and I'm not prepared to continue with gimmicks that don't act as a deterrent.
Then he wanted this guy to take over his repackaged Border Security Command.
I will go with the Oxford University Dictionary definition of the word woke. I don't think that's the way it has been used or applied to me, but that definition is, are you alert to issues of racial and social justice? Yes, I am. And if that is the definition of woke, I'll wear it as a bumper sticker every day of the week.
But that fell through. So where do we stand? Well, more than 1,000 illegal immigrants have already crossed the Channel since Labour took office. Starmer wants a closer relationship with the EU to sort this out. But now, Ursula von der Leyen has snubbed him. The EU leader has embarrassed Starmer by refusing to attend his EU-UK Reset Summit, which means that he'll be trying to form a relationship with Italy's Giorgia Meloni. Essentially, Keir Starmer put all his eggs in the basket of closer ties with the EU, and the EU has told him to swivel. Then we've got legal immigration. The latest figures show that England and Wales recorded the highest population growth for 75 years. That is almost entirely down to mass immigration. Previously, Sir Keir Starmer has said this.
The Conservatives have let immigration get out of control. We've got record numbers of people coming to this country, and they've now said they're going to have a visa cap. They've not said what the number is. They've got a visa cap without a cap. We did have a visa cap before. Rishi Sunak argued to get rid of it, which they did in 2020, and now they're going back to it but without a number. It is utter chaos.
All right, well, he's in charge now, and it's just emerged that the Prime Minister has shelved plans to reduce the number of foreign workers. That will not be in tomorrow's King's Speech. As of right now, Labour and the Prime Minister are keeping its people firmly in the dark when it comes to their plans to reduce both legal and illegal immigration. I think it's high time we got some answers. Let's get the thoughts of my panel tonight. It's columnist and broadcaster Esther Krakow. We've also got senior political correspondent at the Daily Express, Christian Cowgie. And we've got author and broadcaster Amy Nicole Turner. Christian, I'll start with you, just on the political front of this, really. I mean, Keir Starmer appears to have now been left wide open when it comes to both legal and illegal immigration. I mean, the EU have essentially just told him to swivel, haven't they?
Yes, and we essentially knew that they would, right? That actually one of the things Rishi Sunak was very proud of was having reset relations with the EU, and we saw that with the Windsor Framework, and we saw it to an extent with Macron in France. We knew that in order to get any changes in Europe, we would have to give something away, and the Tories tried warning about this, that a similar migrant swap deal in other circumstances then might require us to take many tens of thousands of migrants. And the problem, I'm afraid, is that Keir Starmer has completely coasted on immigration throughout the election. Labour has been totally complacent and not just kidded the electorate, so I don't necessarily think they have bought it, but they've kidded themselves into a situation where, oh, well, we can solve this by simply not being the Tories and by being sensible and grown up and diligent on the issues. And that is not going to cut it. You're right, we've already got rid of Rwanda. There's nothing yet in its place. Yvette Cooper's big idea is some command task force that, as far as I'm aware, already exists absolutely as Labour intends in the Home Office. It hasn't quite worked. They wanted to give the top job to some guy who's already turned them down because they're not going to fix the issue. And at the end of the day here, what has happened is there's been a global and irreversible shift in legal immigration, fuelled by record cheap flights and advertising on things like TikTok by people smugglers. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. That's changed. And I think Labour are living in some dream world where being grown-up politicians, they get back to the sort of 2000s level of immigration.
Well, this is it. And just sticking with the illegal side of it, Esther, for now. So he obviously wanted Ursula von der Leyen at this big EU EU-UK Reset Summit. She's now not going to be there.
We've got testing her.
Yeah, we've got Giorgia Meloni, who, as far as I can tell, stands for everything that Keir Starmer hates. Yeah. So he could now be relying on Giorgia Meloni saying, you know what, we're a big entry point into the EU and therefore into Britain. We'll turn back the boats. We'll use something like a Rwanda plan. We'll start deporting people. And Keir Starmer will just say, great, thank you very much. At least I'm not the one doing it.
Well, and it's interesting that he's choosing Giorgia Meloni, and the reason for that is because the Italians are the most stable partner at the moment. I mean, in Germany and France, which would be much more closer to his ideological allies, it's a bit chaotic. I mean, the French election has left the country basically in a state of limbo, and in Germany, there's some frequent collisions, means it's very difficult to get anything done. So the actual right-wing person that he would personally, in terms of his politics, loathe, he has no choice than to do a deal with. I still think that Labour have not ruled out the option of sending migrants to a third country for processing. They just don't want to brand it as Rwanda, right? Because in politics now, perception is reality. The Danish made a very public point of looking to Rishi Sunak's Rwanda policy because they actually wanted to mimic it. And so did the Germans, and so did many other Eastern European countries. So it wasn't, this kind of really public disgust that he had with the policy actually didn't match up with many of his European allies thought of it. And it's going to be a reality that's going to hit. One thing he's going to do, I suspect, is going to try and bury the news. He's going to try and find a way to find a third country that most European countries agree with, that they can relatively send migrants to relatively cheaply, and then find something to bury the news with.
I mean, I reckon that actually one of these European countries will just use Rwanda and they'll let us pay for it. Because we already have.
It might not be Rwanda because the PR around Rwanda is bad enough.
Possibly, but I mean, we've paid for it. We're not going to get the money back, which, by the way, I think is fair enough. We've defrauded ourselves. Yeah. I don't think the Rwandans have got any obligation to give us a penny back at all. We've mugged ourselves off big time. And the infrastructure, presumably, is there. What would stop another European country just using Rwanda? I'd be amazed.
I mean, they might use like an overseas territory of I don't know, the French.
But I mean, we explored all the options, right? Rwanda was the one we arrived at as the compromise that was cost-effective and had better human rights records. But I think what's relatively likely is, you've got France, right, who take a much more sensible approach to international human rights treaties, which is they stay as members and they ignore all the rules. And I think someone like that will break first. They'll get migrants to Rwanda, and then Keir Starmer can say, OK, well, if they're doing it, it softens the blow when we're doing it and we're not being controversial anymore.
On the legal stuff as well, though, Amy, I mean, this is another quite squiffy area. The King's speech tomorrow, as we understand it, all the indications suggest there's going to be nothing on reducing the number of foreign workers in that at all. This is the kind of thing that Keir Starmer said he would be actually quite strong on, getting that migration under control. They don't appear to be putting anything in that. They're kicking the can down the road there. I mean, that's not great, is it, as a start?
I think it's because at present, if they were to put that in the King's speech, industries would literally collapse. The healthcare industry, for example, would be nothing. We're not ready to reduce foreign labour. They have stuck with a commitment to this whole new skills plan. So maybe in a few years' time, we could look at reducing foreign labour. But one of the interesting things is that natural growth in the domestic population is the lowest for 46 years. So we've got a falling birth rate, an ageing population. We really do need that foreign labour at the moment. And when you talk to people about the legal number, you say international students, well, they earn the economy millions, so you don't really want to get rid of that. Asylum seekers who are here from Ukraine, Hong Kong, Afghanistan, don't want to get rid of that. And then the skilled labour shortages. I can't really see where we're going to be able to quickly make cuts on the number.
Well, I mean, the interesting bit that's not being included in the King's speech tomorrow is the aspect of training. So actually forcing British companies to invest and train British workers before they can have the kind of the privilege of bringing in foreign labour, which is a point that actually you would think on the left side of the political aisle would be very popular, because this is why businesses have been so keen on importing cheap labour, because they don't have to invest in the British population, which is expensive.
Yeah. It's also why a lot of the unions back Brexit.
I think they just can't legislate it at the moment.
I understand it on the point that the reason why he's not gone for it in this parliament is because there are questions around whether there's actually training courses available. So, for instance, if you put that sort of burden on businesses to say, OK, you can import foreign labour, but you have to train British businesses, are there courses to train them?
I get that, but he didn't.
But that's not.
But he didn't seem to have that same quibble when it came to releasing prisoners early. All right, we'll get them out of prisons. That'll be fine. OK, well, where are the rehabilitation?
Down the road.
Yeah, we'll just kick that. Where are the rehabilitation courses? Where are the back-to-work courses there? There wasn't the same urgency when it came to getting those set up. No. But I just think, Christian, when it comes to both legal and illegal immigration and reducing both of those things. As it currently stands, we don't know what Labour's policies are, do we?
No, but we didn't know during the election either, did we, really? And what I'm astonished at, and I said it was complacent with the small boats, this is just as complacent. I'm really amazed, right, that I thought Labour's immigration policy was essentially going to be, look, Rishi Sunak, or not actually Rishi, I'd say Boris and Liz Truss messed up on immigration. The rates spiked. Rishi and James Cleverly and some of the other Home Secretaries we've had are set to bring immigration down. And when we get the figures later this year, they're going to be down by at least a third, if not approaching 50%. And I thought Labour's policy was going to be, well, we'll take credit for that, and then we'll bank that and stay at that level throughout the Parliament. So when it comes to the next election, even though we've not done anything, we can say immigration's fallen. What I'm astonished at is they're now not even taking that. They're now actively delaying some of those major policy announcements by the Tories that would have brought down immigration. And as for the argument the economy can't cope, I'm sorry, we had a very good economy in 2015 when we had net immigration 250,000, below 300,000. And now I'm being told that these big businesses would collapse if immigration went back down to that level. I'm sorry, they are addicted to cheap migrant labour, and the only way to do it is sobriety. They've got to come off it.
I think that portraying the illegal immigration side as a massive crisis is slightly misleading. It makes up for 5% of the figure, and we take 1% of the world's asylum seekers. I think it was 45,000 people last year.
It in the form of our asylum system, which is broken. 90% of asylum seekers that are accepted into this country go to only five major cities across the UK. The asylum system is broken, it's overburdened. We're bringing people over and offering them a substandard life. It's not just about cutting the numbers because we can't afford it. It's also because the people that are being invited into this country are getting a substandard level of quality of life, and that's just not good enough.
Well, currently they're not even being offered any quality of life because they're just stagnating whilst waiting to be processed.
Well, some of them are in five-star hotels. It's a pretty good quality.
I think 3 people to a room in a technically 5-star hotel is not a 5-star hotel.
Well, look, put it this way: the clock is ticking, right? Ursula von der Leyen is not going to meet Keir Starmer for this big UK-EU reset, so that's not happening. So we're going to have to wait a bit longer for that. That has massive knock-on consequences for how we're going to deal with illegal immigration and asylum seekers. When you look at the legal side of it, like we've just said, he's kicking a can down the road. Well, it remains to be seen what happens, doesn't it? But, you know, he's going to have to give us some answers at some point soon.